Hey, welcome to Delivra. In this video, we're going to cover all of the basics that you need to know so that you can get started sending quickly. We are going to cover contact management and imports, designing email templates, and sending campaigns today. Let's begin at the home page, also known as your account dashboard. This page is designed to provide important at-a-glance information so that you can quickly keep tabs on what's going on in your account. System navigation is along the left with links to all of your dashboards. Your Help and Resources menu is located at the top right of your screen. Let's start in our first dashboard, Contacts, and I'll click that from the left navigation. The Contacts dashboard is where all of your emails live in your account. And this Contacts Overview page gives you shortcut links to all of your common tasks. Let's start with viewing all of our contacts. When you view all of the contacts in your account, you will see a full list of every email address that is saved. Along the top of the screen, you're going to see your contacts organized by the status in your account. Delivra is managing 3 common statuses, like the normal status, which indicates an active email address, the unsubscribed status, which indicates that contact has unsubscribed or reported a message they received as spam. And the third most common status here would be the held status, which indicates a bounce occurred when mail was sent. If you need to look up and manage a record, there is a search box just underneath the contact status where you can enter a full or partial value to look up. I hit enter to return the results. And then to edit a record, hover over it and find the edit button to the right side of the screen. This opens the contact profile where you can access and edit any data that might be stored on the contact. If you need to add additional information to your view, you'll find all of the different fields are available as checkboxes to add in. Whenever you make changes to a record, be sure to click Save and Exit at the bottom of the screen. Back to the main contacts view here. Your main call to action on this page is to import a file of contacts, and we see that on the right side of the screen. Clicking Import Contacts is going to start the process to upload a file. Before we walk through the upload process, let me first show you a sample data file. Here, we've created a spreadsheet that organizes all of our data into columns. Email address is the only required data for an import, but we suggest that you include other data if you can, so that you can leverage other tools in the system, like merging in data to personalize an email, or use our segment builder to identify and target specific contacts. When you're saving your spreadsheet file, make sure that it's saved as the CSV file format that is the required format for an upload. Let me get this out of your view, and then let's start the import process. First, we'll click Browse Files, and this is going to open your desktop for you to locate that CSV. Select it from the desktop, and then you're going to see a green indicator so that you can move forward. If your file is not formatted properly, like it's not saved as the CSV type, you're going to see a red indicator with a message on screen. Since we're ready to go with a green indicator, I'll click the next button. The second step is to map all of the data to a field in your account. We'll see a row here for each column that was in the uploaded CSV. And your account is going to be smart enough to try to match to an existing field. So we see each row matched up automatically. On the left is the column name from the file. To the right is the field that was chosen. Each row has been matched, and they all look correct. However, the last row was not matched up, so I need to find the field myself. Open the menu and scroll through to find the field as needed. Scrolling down, the next part of the import is defining additional rules for how the system will process the file. One of the first settings would be your import action. The import action tells the account what to do with the records when they come in. If you don't intend to send any kind of notification to newly added email addresses, leave your import action set to import quietly as regular contacts. This means that no notifications will be sent. The email addresses will simply be added to your account. Another popular setting used is to create a new tag. Creating a tag allows you to quickly create a group from the imported file. When you create a tag, an additional box will open up for you to give your tag a name. If you want to keep this grouping long-term, make sure your tag expiration setting is set to no. Now, if you know that you're only going to use this list one time, then you could change the expiration to yes. When you do that, the group will dissolve after 30 days. The email addresses will still be in your account. They're just not grouped anymore as a targeted mailing list. Scrolling down, the last step of the import is to assign any additional tags. So not only could you create a new group by creating a tag above, but you could also import a file to any existing tag or group. So let's say we want to also import these folks into our existing clients tag. So we'll push that over to the selected side, and then we'll click import. You're taken to a landing page that gives you some information about the import report that will be sent to you when the import is done processing. So we'll click done. Next, let's talk about those tags. We have a quick shortcut to view or create tags in the account. So let's start with viewing our tags. This gives you a list of all of those tags or mailing lists that you have created. And if you hover over a tag, you'll notice an edit button with additional options in the dropdown to the right of the page. If I want to edit the tag, perhaps I want to change the name, I can edit it. If I want to see who is in this tag right now, I can click View Subscribers. And then if I want to delete the tag, I could also delete it at any time. What you can also do in your tags view here is create a new tag at any time. So you're not limited to only creating tags through the import process. You could also go ahead and create new tags from here. Clicking Create Tag is going to open a page where you, at minimum, have to give the tag a name. Then make sure you click Save and Exit. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about segmentation, which is another way to create groups from your contact database. So I'll click Segments from the left sub-navigation. When I click onto Segments, very similar to tags, this is going to show me a list of all of the segment groups that I've created in my account. Segments are going to be a dynamic way to build groups in your account because you're going to create clauses that evaluate contact data or behavior. If I want to edit a segment, if I hover over it, I'll notice the Edit button with a drop-down. In the drop-down, I can test my segment to see who's in the group right now, or I can delete the segment at any time. The main call to action on this page is to create an email segment. So we'll go ahead and walk through that process. And there are a few things to set up when you're building a segment. So first, you're going to select the segment type, and we'll choose regular for today, which is your most common segment type. Then scrolling down to general information, we're going to give this segment a name. So we're going to use some data that we just imported to create a segment based on location by state. So I'm going to give my segment a name. And we'll say we're going to find all of our contacts in Indiana. Then we'll scroll down to the builder and create the clause that is going to query the system. Open select field to choose the type of clause. Our first example, we will use data, which we'll find under contact fields section of this menu. Scrolling down, we will find the state field and click it. And now that we have chosen the type of clause, it's going to show the field that I've chosen. Then we're going to choose an operator. So how is the system going to evaluate what we build? Equal to would be an exact match, and that's the operator that's chosen whenever you start a new segment. But there are other options to consider, like creating segments that are less than or equal to or greater than some value stored in the field. Maybe not equal to if you want to find everything except for a specific value. Perhaps you want to find a partial value. You could use a contains operator. We're going to keep it simple for today, and we'll move forward with using the equal to, which is an exact match. And then the last thing to do here would be entering the value that you want to look for. Once I'm done creating this clause, in the top right corner, the next step is to save and next, and this is going to save the segment and then show you the results on screen. So here we see we've got 21 contacts that meet that criteria. And then scrolling down a bit, I can look at all of the contacts that match. Notice that when you've used a data clause, we're going to include a column here so you can visually verify on screen that these contacts match. Let's create another segment. So I'll click on the Create Email Segment button to begin again. We're going to choose our segment type. We're going to give our segment a name. And this next example, we're going to take a look at behavior clauses. So let's say we want to find contacts that clicked a link in a recent email. Scrolling down to the builder, you're going to open select field to choose the type of clause. So all of your actions will be at the top of this menu. And then it allows me to choose an email to then evaluate for clicks. So I'll push that email over. And then scrolling down a bit more, I have options like, did they click any link or URL in that email that was sent? Or do I want to choose a very specific link or two that had that click action? So I'll choose a specific link. I also have an option to set a time frame. So did they click that link anytime? Or did they click that link before a certain time or between certain dates? I'll leave this set to anytime. Last step here, save and next in the top right, is going to save our segment and then show us the results. So now that we know more about managing our contacts, organizing our contacts, and importing contacts, let's move on to our next dashboard for today. So on the far left, we're going to navigate into the Assets dashboard. Assets is where you design any supporting materials for your email marketing strategies. And this could include email templates or content snippets or even forms. Today, we're going to focus on creating an email template. So I'll click that from the left sub-navigation. The email templates dashboard is where you're going to create at least one templated design layout. And the purpose of having at least one email template is to prevent you from having to start your design from scratch every time you want to send a campaign. When you enter into your email templates dashboard, you're going to potentially see a library of designs that may already be in progress. Or if you're a brand new customer, this page might be blank, and all you'll see is your call to action to create a template, which we see on the right side. When I create a template, it's going to drop me into a workflow to build out a design. In the template details section of our first step, we're going to give our file a name. Then we'll scroll down to the design section and we choose how to start this design. Starting from a template is going to either allow you to start your design from an existing custom template that could potentially already be in your account, or you can start with a stock template, which gives you access to hundreds of stock templates that are pre-designed by Delivra's design team. Before we go through selecting a template, I also want to point out that you can start from a blank as well, which means you're going to build the design from scratch. I'll go back to Start from Template and choose a stock template from Delivra's library. To use a template, hover over it and you'll see a radio button to select it. Once we've chosen a template here, we'll click Save and Next in the top right corner to move to the next step. You're dropped into our drag and drop email editor. And on the left-hand side, you're going to find all of your options to add in elements and assign those elements as a content type. So let's do a couple of these where I'll add in a new row. And once I've added these new rows, then I'm going to use the content and action elements to assign a default type to each of those new cells. So let's say we want to do a 2-column formatted text row, and maybe we want to do an image next to text. Let's add in a button. And then lastly, let's add in social options, like a social share. Now, if you want to drop in directly as one of those action or content types, it will automatically create a full width row. Before we get into taking a look at basic editing for each of these types of content or actions, notice that when you're hovering over a section, there are quick action icons that appear. Quick action icons like duplicate row will create an exact copy, which is super handy if you need to replicate a section of your design. There's also a remove row that appears that allows you to very quickly remove anything in your design. On the left side, you also have options to move your rows up and down if you want to reorganize the order of your rows. Let's take a look at some basics. When I click a cell in my middle canvas, I'm going to see options to edit that type of content on the right side. This is for images. And for my image, the first thing I'll want to do is select an image to place in that cell. Clicking Select is going to show me my media library. The media library is a place in your account where all of your images are hosted. There might be images here already where you could select an image and then insert it to your design. Or you may need to upload images if you don't have any at all. And your third option here would be to import from our Unsplash integration. If I choose Import from Unsplash, I have access to the Unsplash library, and I can use a search box to narrow down. So let's say I want to find a picture of a kitten. All of these pictures will then return. I can choose one. And on the right side, I can provide a name for that image. And when I click Import, I'm actually importing this image to my media library. So now we see the image selected from our media library, and now we can go ahead and insert it. Another option available in your editor on the right side would be linking your image. If you want to link an image so that it's clickable, you'll slide the toggle to yes. And then scrolling down, you'll see a box to insert your URL. So you can type into this, or you can paste a URL if it's long to create a link on that image. The next type of content would be a text box. And when I click on the text box, it's going to open a text editor on the right side of the page. So at the top, you have text options, which allow you to style any text in that cell, like changing the type of text, like is it a header or a subheader, changing the font family, changing the size, and so on. So let's get some text in here. When you're editing a text box, you actually edit in the center canvas. So I can type right into the canvas. If I want to paste text in, let me show you how that works. So here I have a Word document that has some basic styling applied, and I can copy this and get this out of our view. I'll highlight the text that is in that text cell. And under the insert options on your text editor on the right, you're going to find the copy icon. And there you'll find two options for pasting text. You can retain the source style, which we'll do first. And notice that it saved most of the styling from that external source where I copied text. So it kept paragraph breaks, it kept hyperlinks, it kept the styling of my header. Let's try it again. So let me highlight what's in the text box. We'll click the copy icon again. This time we're going to choose Inherit Style, which means that it's going to paste in the text and take on the styling that was saved at the email template in Delivra. Let's take a look at another type, a button. With buttons, I can edit the text right in the middle canvas. So let's say we want to create a register button. And then on the right side, I'm going to see all of my options to edit a button. In the button style area, I'm going to find options like changing the color of the button or rounding the edges. As you increase the radius, notice your button rounds out. If you'd like to place a border around a button, you'll slide this toggle to yes, and then some additional options open up to format the border. You can adjust the width of the button. By default, your button will be inserted as a 100% width, so you can type into this box to bring that down. You can also adjust the height of the button if needed by typing that in as pixels. There's also a handy snap to width, which will automatically adjust the size of your button based on the text that has been placed on it. In the padding section of your button editor, you have the ability to adjust the margin that is between the text on your button and the outside edge of the button. So you can type right into these boxes. So let's remove the 25 and let's put a 30 pixel. And now we have increased the padding on that button. Scrolling down a bit more, you have options to format the text on the button, where you could change the font family. You could change the color of that font as well as the size. And then last but not least, in the button link section of the button editor is where you're going to apply the link. So notice your box where you can type or paste in a hyperlink. Next, let's take a look at the social type of content. And again, when I click on that in the center canvas, it's going to show me my edit options for that type of content on the right. So let's scroll up a little bit to start from the top. In the social share section, you can adjust the title. So notice that there is default text that says share this email. You can keep that text, or you could change the text, or you can actually remove that text altogether. If you do leave the text, you can position it. So let's say we want to position that on top. Then we get into a couple of styling options for your labels, which will come into play in a few moments, where you can control the font family for a label that has been applied to a network. You can control the size in pixels, and then you can also position that text. Orientation will allow you to change how these icons display, vertical or horizontal. The next step, we'll choose the platforms that we want to include for our social share. And so if there are any networks you don't want, you'll just remove them by deselecting the box. For any network that has been chosen to include, you're going to have a section where you can adjust the icon style. You could even put your own icon in by clicking the change icon to choose an image. Then you have a label. Let's say this is Facebook. And because of those label styling options that I placed above, it is going to then control how that text label displays for each network. I can change the button color if I want. I can also change the text color. And I will repeat these steps for each network that I've included in my social block. So now that we know some basics about editing, let's move on. The next thing I do want to point out before we move out of the editor is on the right side, you'll see a paintbrush, and this will give you access to all of the global style options for your template. This is very helpful when you're building out a template to save a background color for the template or adjust the margin around the outside of the email. You can also set background images here as well. So these options are really helpful when you're building out your email templates initially so that you can control the format of certain things, like controlling what header font should appear as, or what subheader font should appear as. Or scrolling down further, you can also style the way buttons should appear when you use this template. Let's move on, and now I will click Save and Next in the top right to move to the next step in the workflow, which is Preview. And Preview is going to allow you to view your design as a browser. Save and Next again in the top right is going to move us to the test step of the workflow, where we can send this design as an email so that we can see it in our email inbox. So here you're going to identify who should receive the test and how many copies. Test and Next in the top right will take us to the last step of the email template process. And this last step you may not do immediately when you first start building email templates. You might test this email design a few times. You might make some adjustments. So it's very possible that you might exit the workflow at this point in time and come back later. Whenever I need to come back, I can hover over my template and I'll see the edit button on the right side of the page. And I can go directly back to the last step. Now, this last step is important because your templates live in your account as two different statuses. There is a draft status, which is a template design that is in progress. There's also a complete status, which means that that design has been finalized and it is approved to start using when you want to send a campaign. So we'll give our template a name, and then we'll click Save and Exit. Now that we have a customized final email design, we're ready to send a campaign. On the far left navigation, I'm going to click into the campaigns dashboard. The campaigns dashboard is where you pull everything that we've talked about today together as an email, and then you choose when to send it. When you first enter the campaigns dashboard, you might already see other campaigns that are in progress. If not, you're just going to see the main call to action to create a campaign. Clicking Create a Campaign will drop us into a workflow to put all of the pieces together, like our design and our mailing list. In the first step of the workflow, there are a few required pieces, like a campaign name, the campaign type. We'll stick with the regular type for today, which is your most common on-demand type of campaign. Scrolling down to the design section, you're choosing how to start the design for this campaign. Because we have a template, I'm going to leave this set to start from template. And then I'm going to look at my custom templates and notice we have our template that we just created available. Click the radio button to select it. Scrolling down a bit more, one last piece in this first step of the workflow is to go ahead and assign the sender name and address, which is your from line. And you might have multiple from lines stored that you can choose from the dropdown. If you need to add a from line now, you can click on Add Sender Address to quickly do that. The last required step here is to enter a subject line. And then we're ready to move on to the next step. So I'll click Save and Next in the top right corner. Here we're dropped back into that same email editor that we used to build out our email template. So we'll have most of our design for this campaign already available because of the template that we chose. You'll use those same functions to add in or edit anything in the email template so that you're preparing this particular message for this email send. When you're done with design, click Save and Next in the top right corner. In the context step, you're going to choose your mailing list. So who do you want to send this message to? On the left, you'll see available segments and tags, which are the two different ways to create groups in the system. You can choose one or another, or you could choose a combination of both. So let's say we want to send this to our contacts in Indiana. And then we also want to choose a tag. Let's say we want to also choose all of our clients. When you choose more than one group for your campaign, our system will run a deduplicate process so that if contacts exist in both of those groups, they will only get one copy of your campaign. Click Save and Next in the top right to move on. The preview step shows us the browser view of our email design that we intend to send. Hitting Save and Next again takes us to our test step. And at the top of the test step, it's going to show us an estimated contact count based on the audience groups that we chose. If you scroll down a bit in the Test Send Details area, you're going to choose who to send this as an email to review before you send. You can also run a spam analysis, which we recommend doing if you're brand new to the system. Delivra is integrated with Spam Assassin, and Spam Assassin is essentially going to score your campaign and give you results based on the results from running it through over 100 email spam filters. Top right corner, Test and Next, one last time, takes you to the last step, Schedule. In the Schedule step, you might choose to go ahead and send this campaign now, or you might choose to exit at this point and come back later. When I exit, I'll be taken back to the campaigns dashboard, and I'll find my draft campaign here in the list. At any time, I can come back to edit and go directly to that schedule step. Choosing send all at the date and time specified allows me to choose when to send this campaign. Clicking the calendar icon allows me to choose a date and then choose a time. And I can use my mouse to scroll through to set my times. Then click set, and you'll see your date and time has been applied. So now I can save, and that returns me again back to the campaigns dashboard. And now I see my campaign is in the scheduled status and when it will send. That concludes our topics for the Jumpstart webinar today. Remember, help and resources are only a click away. In your help menu inside of your Delivra account, you can find access to our support team via the support portal link. You can browse our help center and online learning library 24/7. You can sign up for future webinars and more. Thanks for being here today.